about that as well. And next up, we take you back to D.C. for the top political story of the week, which is Donald Trump endorsing the current House Speaker, Mike Johnson, for Speaker of the House. Republicans about to gather in D.C. to determine the next Speaker of the House. Does his endorsement matter? We'll tackle that question next. My name is Jeff Angelo. Let's take you back to Washington, D.C., where there's a lot of talk about who the next House Speaker is going to be. Donald Trump has, in fact, endorsed the current House Speaker. He says he's got his complete and total endorsement, Mike Johnson, but we're still wondering whether or not there's going to be a speakership fight amongst the Republicans. Senior advisor to the Faith and Freedom Coalition, John Pudner, is back on the Davison Family Dentistry Newsmaker line. John, welcome back to WHO Radio. Good morning.
Good morning. Good to be on.
John, what do you think about this Trump endorsement? Does it settle it? Is there a lot of questions? What are you feeling this morning?
Well, the problem is it only takes one more vote, no, to stop Johnson from being Speaker. And the problem this time is that Monday, the House has to convene to confirm that Trump won. So this isn't like, the fight, the past fight where things can drag out 4 days. And you almost wonder if you're going to put the pressure on and say, look, if you don't vote for Johnson, so we don't have a House Monday to you basically confirm that Trump won, it's almost like an impeachment vote. I mean, I think they're going to be that hard on what happens. And the math is, because Thomas Massey, one Republican, has said he will not support, if he's a no vote, then you can't have any other no votes because you need 218, 216 win. He drops the Republicans from 219 to 218, so you can see the problem. Any other Republican threatening to vote no could stop Johnson from being Speaker.
Right, John, and this just seems like maybe an ideological versus practical reality fight. There may be some folks like Thomas Massey that want to have this ideological fight, but pragmatically, you could cause real chaos in D.C. next week. So, in your mind, what's the most important thing? Is it look, let's have this ideological fight later and let's get the certification going, or should we have the ideological fight? What are you thinking, John?
Yeah, what I'm hoping is that some of the members who are voicing some concern, like one from Indiana saying, I want to make sure he's committed to not sell us to the swamp. My hope is this is all hey, look, I've got a lot of power for 24 hours to make my points, get these into the agenda, get some commitments from Speaker Johnson, but not that I would actually vote no Friday at noon. I mean, that to me is just a nuclear option. So, we understand there's the old brinksmanship on, if I'm there and I really think there's something important, I really need Speaker Johnson to do differently, and this is my one chance to have that power, I get that part. But the actual no vote, if you actually voted against him Friday at noon, I think that's a disaster.
Yeah, I agree with you. John Pudner on News Radio 1040 WHO. And I think, John, you're being very practical. My sense of all of this is that I noted that Speaker Johnson, once he got Trump's endorsement, immediately came out and said, I'm going to enact the Trump agenda. And that just seems to be, I think, the big talk in Washington, isn't it? That, President Trump won the popular vote. He was a big landslide in the Electoral College. Republicans just want to hear that the agenda is going to move. Is that your sense of this?
I think that's it. That's why I think they have to frame this. And look, your vote Friday is really whether or not to make Trump president Monday. If you can just keep it that simple for people, and then let's be moving on this. Let's not be dragging this out. And I think you're right. I think that was a great back and forth. And honestly, it's probably what's nice, kind of not having Matt Gaetz in there too. When he resigned after the initial appointment to AG. I mean, he's been backing Massey, not saying he should vote no, but saying people shouldn't be criticizing him. And you hope that leaves you just enough margin where you've still got that 218 to win.
And John, when people say they want to see the Trump agenda enacted, what are you looking forward to the most? What would be your priority as you advise the Republicans in the House to move forward with the Trump agenda?
I think the couple of highlights that we saw that really motivated voters, obviously there's immigration and just the understanding that the first part of this deportation is getting criminals out, criminal gangs, there can be arguments about, other things to do with immigration down the road, but we've got this glaring problem of, these mobs that have taken over in, Denver apartments and places. They just got to be cleared out. So that seems like number one. And then number two, there was a big social issue we're focused on, was just this concept of transgender athletes. And some try to belittle, well, that's not that big a deal. Then your surgeries on youth. Then is the military focused on how many transgenders are officers? Just as ridiculous. We're facing terrorist attacks, and so I do think it's interesting that there's also been this social issue that has come back up and was really part of the agenda too. So I think those are two right off the bat. And then thirdly, just Trump obviously understands the economy and understands our adversaries and our allies and, what China can do to us, and just getting rid of Bidenomics. That's the third one that has to happen.
He's a senior advisor to the Faith and Freedom Coalition, John Pudner. John, great comments this morning. Glad to talk these issues over with you, and we'll hear from you again very soon.